Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode 4 of Beyond Technology and Innovation. In this episode, I had the privilege of speaking with Lindsay Martin-Nez. She is the CEO of Badgepass. Badgepass is a physical identity software company which is into badging for access control and identity management. In this conversation, I learned a lot about Lindsay's journey from moving from New York down to Mississippi and becoming the CEO of BadgePass. One of the unique things about her and her company is the company culture. They are very exciting company. They have a very unique uh, culture in terms of how they present themselves to the industry. Their outfits at the events are really amazing. So let's learn more about Lindsay and her journey. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Technology and Innovation. Today, I have a very special guest on the show. It's Lindsay Martinez from BadgePass. So, Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we've known each other from the industry. I've learned a lot about your company and really have seen you guys out there in the industry. I see your culture as a very vibrant culture. So, I'd really love to learn more about you, your company, your background. Why don't you start by just quickly introducing yourself and your company and your background?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Lindsay Martin-Nez, the CEO of Badgepass, and Badgepass is a software development company. We're really focused on enabling organizations to better recognize and connect people, and we do that primarily through several different software products we've created. But a primary one is Badge Hub, which is our issuance platform designed for issuance of physical badges as well as mobile credentials. And so I have been with BadgePass for a little over 15 years now. I have to do math in my head to try to remember how old I am and how long I've been here. But I actually was originally from Buffalo, New York before I moved down to Mississippi to come work for BadgePass. But I kind of grew up in the security industry, if you will. My mom owned a systems integrator out of Western New York. And so I kind of had always been around the photo ID, physical security industry before I even ended up at BadgePass.
Okay. So, in New York, is that your mom or your family was in this similar business? How did you get into badges?
Yes, yeah. So my mom owned a systems integrator called Linstar out of Buffalo, New York. And yes, if you put together that my name is Lindsay and the company's Linstar, it's named after me and my sisters.
Got it.
But anyway, so I kind of just grew up around it. I thought that that was normal, that like everybody understood access control and everybody printed invitations to their birthday parties on ID cards. As I grew up, I realized that was not actually the case. But yeah, I knew I had told her, like, I don't want to end up in this industry. This isn't for
Mhm.
me. I want to do my own thing. And then it came time to graduate from college and like get a real job. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? So, BadgePass, Linstar was a reseller of BadgePass at the time. And they sent out a notice saying they were looking for someone to fill this channel sales role. And it sounded like me. And so I was like, yeah, I'll give that a shot. And so I interviewed down here and moved to Mississippi a couple months later. And now here we are having this conversation.
Yeah. So how was what made you decide to move from New York down to Mississippi? I mean that.
No, so I was in Western New York. It's about 7 hours west of New York City, closer to Niagara Falls. I'm borderline Canadian. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that really what got me to move here is that Philip, the owner of our company, very strategically interviewed me the first week of November. And it was 75 and sunny in Mississippi, and it was snowing in Buffalo. And anyone who knows me knows of my disdain for snow. And so I was like, oh my God, the weather in Mississippi is perfect. Like, of course I want to live here. If he had flown me down in July, I don't know if I would have said yes when it was 100 and humidity like you've never seen before. But in all seriousness, I came down and I immediately fell in love with like the people here and the culture. And it felt like something that I wanted to be a part of.
So how did you? I mean, you entered as a sales in the sales role. I'm guessing like channel sales kind of a role.
Yep.
How did you end up to be the CEO of the company? What was the
You
journey
know,
like?
I ask myself this all the time. No, I think that what was really cool about Philip as an owner is he really has always afforded a lot of us opportunities to grow within the organization as we've continued to grow. And I think that he gave me a lot of opportunity probably before I earned it early in my career, opportunity to be a part of conversations and be at meetings that maybe shouldn't have been at. And I just learned a lot through that. And then as we continue to grow as a company, I continued to kind of grow in my career and my responsibilities within the organization. And then a couple of years ago, he said, like, I really would kind of like to step back and just be involved in product, which is what like gets him out of bed and excited in the morning, is like developing cool product and having input in the solutions that we're going to market with. And he's like, the people, the culture, the growth of the business, like vendor relationships, all that stuff, like way better suited for you and your personality. And so it was just a good timing opportunity for us. And I've been excited and enjoyed it ever since.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that stands out about your company is your culture and how you guys stand out in the industry. So when did that start? I mean, I'll just go straight to the point. You guys dress up very differently, right?
Yes.
That's something which stands out. So when did that start? Is that you, or is that part of the company's original culture?
So I think that there's aspects of the culture that are like ingrained in who we are as like in our DNA that I didn't necessarily create, right? Like some of the like team vibe that you get from us and like the way we all have each other's backs and how much fun we have, like that's just kind of core to the company. Now the fun and wild shirts, like yes, that's 100% me. And honestly, that started a couple years ago. I want to say it was ISC West, and someone had a very bright, like vibrant orange blazer on. And I texted a picture back to some of the guys and I was like, hey, I'm thinking we should do these in lime green at a future Badgepass event, thinking that they would be like, no chance. And they were like, yeah, we're totally in. And so I let it go. And a couple weeks later, they're like, hey, we're going to buy these lime green blazers. Like you were on board with this, right? And I'm like, yeah, I didn't think you would be on board with it. And so it started as lime green blazers, like as fun thing, and then it turned into like these crazy fun polos, and now it's like kind of become our thing. But it's really a good way to stand out in an affordable way. You know, it's hard when you're in a sea of like huge booths at trade shows
Yeah.
and you've got like all these other big competitors that you're going up against, and then there's Badgepass. Like we're just trying to make people notice us. And so we're just trying to build a name for ourselves without necessarily the 100 by 50-foot booth at ISC West. So our crazy polos is what you get.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so difficult to stand out at this trade shows, right? Everybody's just suited and booted, and everybody looks so serious about what they do. Whereas, you guys are more fun, and it's infectious because you guys made us wear colored,
Yes.
colorful shirts at your event. So it's pretty infectious. So it's really fun. Yeah, it's hard to take that kind of step and go towards that. We always think, can we be like that? I don't know. As me and Eric keep talking about it, you know.
Yep.
So I think I wanted to touch upon. I know this industry has been very male dominated industry. We know that. How was that experience for you, especially when you started off? Right, what did you feel? How did you deal with it?
So I think that I was probably better suited for it than some people because I grew up playing golf. And like golf is a very male dominated sport. And like to really put it in perspective, we didn't even have a girls' golf team in high school. I was captain of the boys' golf team my senior year. So like being with the guys was just a part of my life. And so when I graduated and I got into the industry, you know, my mom had been in it. So I was aware that it was pretty much a bunch of males all the time in her office and in her industry too, it seemed like. And then I do remember my first ISC West being like, whoa, this is like a ridiculous amount of guys and very few females. And back then it was even worse. Like I think that we've done a good job diversifying as an industry over the last 15 years. And we have a lot more youth and we have a lot more females and a lot of different perspectives, which is good to see. But you know, I think that for me, I was lucky because I wasn't super intimidated by that. I can see how that would be very intimidating. And so instead, I just kind of embraced it. And I was like, yeah, I am a girl.
Was it also because your first employer, which was obviously Batch Pass, also had a very open culture? How much of that played a role in you feeling comfortable about?
I
How
think
it is.
that, yes, you're probably absolutely right. I mean, Philip basically always treated me like you're just part of the team. It didn't matter like if I was a girl or not. I just went to everything. And so there was never a perception of like male versus female roles or anything like that within our company. And then we certainly have more males than females.
Yeah, yeah.
People all the time are like, well, if you're a female run business, like you must have like all female team. I'm like, no. Like there's still things about the industry that are not necessarily as appealing to females for some reason when we try to recruit. But we just have a great open team, and it never felt like whether I was here or at industry events, like I was any different than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, having said that, I've read your book, so I know that you've been in the field, you've done some field work, you've experienced. So, did you find the need to actually go out in the field and experience what the industry is all about, like putting taking up tools in your hand, for example?
Yes, I'm not good at this. So this is not a skill set that I should have continued. But I did. Like I took all of our technical training classes when I first started here. I learned how to wire up controllers and like learned that whole side of it. I don't think I could do it now. Like if you asked me to, but it was good for me to get the back end of how to install the software and like be more technical. And I think that that's actually really good for anybody in sales is to also take the approach of not just looking at the salesy side of it, but I think the more you understand your product and like the support side of it and how to configure it, the better you are as a salesperson.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've read your book. It's amazing. I mean, I know your journey already because I've read the
Yeah.
book. What made you write a book? I mean, what was your thought behind sharing your story through a book?
Yeah, that's a great question. So some of it was that I had always joked that I was going to write a book. And I do love to read. And so that was always something that I wanted to do. However, I didn't really know what I wanted to write about. And I actually started writing a book that was very different than how Badge Passion ended up turning out, which is what my book is called. And it was going to be more kind of industry focused and stuff that was kind of about like the importance of badging and how it relates to different verticals. And as I was writing it, like it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel like me. And I was like, no, I can tell this story a little bit differently. And so what I really wanted to do was convey what it's like to work with BadgePass and what it's like to work with me and like give you a sense of our culture and like how we work with partners and how we go to market without you necessarily having had to meet us. And that's hard to do. But I think that people like want to feel connected to people they're going to do business with. And a lot of ways, like storytelling helps you feel connected to other people. And so to me, that's what that book is just like a huge collection of stories that I think helps give you a vibe of, oh, this is what it's like to work with BadgePass. Like I can tell just by reading this book what it would be like to work with them.
Yeah, no wonder we are working together, and it kind of gives me an idea of where you come from, how your journey has been, and really makes it more personable.
So when are you going to write your book?
Yeah, and we spoke about it. Yeah, I can't imagine sitting and writing, so it's so difficult is what I think. Maybe I need to take some tips from you how to get started even on that
Yeah, I
journey.
know it is hard. I basically had to block time in my calendar, and I would like catch it on flights a lot. Was a good place because you got a lot of uninterrupted time, or during nap time on the weekends when my son would be napping. Like I could knock it out then, but you've really got to like dedicate hour, 2 hour long chunks to make it happen.
Yeah, I have dumped some content on that's maybe a discussion when we meet again. Maybe we can catch up on that. Yeah, I've started some dumping some ideas, but it's far away from a book.
I'll
But
read
let
it when
me
you're done.
Sure. But being a female and especially in leadership position, how do you balance your work life? I mean, I'm not trying to be a feminist or anything here, but obviously everybody has to, as a leader, everybody has to figure out a right balance of work and life. How do you do that? Because I struggle sometimes.
Mhm.
How do you manage your work life balance, family in a leadership role?
No, it's a great question and something that I struggle with all the time. And it's constantly, to me, I think that there's like seasons of life and there's times where you feel like you're killing it and you're killing it at home and like your family's great. And there's other times where you're like, I feel like I'm letting everybody down. And that's normal. Like anybody who's struggling with this, I think we all go through these waves. But for me, I'm really lucky. My husband also owns a business. And so like both of us have ridiculously crazy schedules. And to me, a lot of like how we get through life is having a really great support system too. So like we've got great childcare, we have a nanny that helps take care of our youngest son, and we had one when our daughter was little. And like to me, without childcare, like that's when everything's feel like they're falling apart. Like when you don't have someone to watch your kids, then you're like, I don't know how I'm going to manage this. And so we're also lucky that we both like have each other's back. So if I'm traveling, he's really supportive, and like we calendar everything out way in advance because I am like really religious about the calendar and live and die by it. But he knows all my upcoming trips. I know all of what's on his calendar and then all of our joint stuff. And we plan family travel like way in advance and dedicate time to things we're going to do with our kids. And then that comes first. So like if a business opportunity comes first and I committed to going on family vacation 2 months from now, like I'm on family vacation. Like I have to do that.
How old are your kids? Just curious.
Yeah, my kids are 9 and 3.
Okay, so pretty handful. So a lot of they keep keeping you busy.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, my son was 10 months old when I became the CEO. So we were like right in the thick of it. He barely was sleeping through the night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did it feel when you got into this role as a CEO? How did you cope up with the responsibility?
I don't know. I mean, I think that there's responsibility in any role that you're at within an organization. And I think that the difficult thing about like the further and further you move up, the more lonely it feels. Like that's probably the best way to describe it, right? So as you move up, you have people to brainstorm with, and you're like, let me bounce these ideas off you. And then the hardest transition for me was probably like, once you get there, you're like, wait a minute, I am the person to brainstorm with. Like, this is still, maybe not something I want to talk about with my team just yet. Like, this is just an idea in my head. And so having good mentors and people like outside of the company has been really important to me, so that I can process ideas and brainstorm things and not bring it necessarily to the team before it's like actually something that we're moving forward with. Because I've learned that if I say an idea, everybody thinks that that's what we're doing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's true. Sometimes I just like to brainstorm.
It's nice to see you being so open and vulnerable about it, right? Where most people think CEOs are these powerful people who basically can face anything, but how lonely it is only that, and people in that role, and people don't talk about it usually, that it's sometimes is lonely, that you as a leader also need help.
Oh
So
yeah, absolutely. And then like other ideas, like if I had all the answers, like we probably would be a much bigger company right now than we are. But I'm a part of a group called Vistage, and it's a group of CEOs, and it's far. It's in Memphis. I drive every month because that's the closest group to us. It's like 3 hours, 6 hours round trip. But every month we get together, and it's a good way to be around like CEOs of similar size organizations, bigger companies, and listen to like stuff that they're dealing with in their company and process those issues, but also just like learn from them and be inspired by like cool things that they're doing in their companies and growth that they're having. I think that that's been really impactful.
Great. So what's your plan with Badgepass? How do you see your company evolving over the next few years? What's your growth plans like the next
Yeah,
few years?
no, good question. We're really focused right now on continuing to advance our product, making sure that Badge Hub is the industry leader when it comes to badge issuance. And I think that our product team's done an unbelievable job of that. So I'm super proud of that. But really importantly, we're looking to expand our channel partner community. And so what I mean by that is basically our partners all over the country who are actively selling and promoting our products in their respective areas to end user customers. And we've always really like poured a lot into our existing channel partners. And as a result, I mean, you got to see some of it at Badge Up, the relationships that we've built with them. We have an unbelievably tight knit group, but it's time for us to really kind of like grow and expand on that, especially in areas where we don't really have partners right now. So that's something I'm really passionate about and excited about. And that's kind of where I see us really ramping up our growth in the coming years.
So which regions are you currently strong in, and which ones are the ones which you want to grow right now?
Yeah, so I think our strongest region is the Mid-South, which isn't really a region, but it is. And some of that's because we're based out of Mississippi. So like our brand presence is strong near where we are. And it turns out there's not a lot of security companies based out of Mississippi, or software development companies based out of here.
Yeah.
So we have kind of a unique footprint around this region. But anywhere outside, it kind of gets less and less. Like the further from home base you get, the less and less Badgepass you see. So we're looking to really make a mark everywhere else where we're a little less known.
Great, great. So if I was to ask you, um, tell me about one situation where it was a very difficult situation which you had to deal with. As a leader, you probably have faced a situation where you thought like giving up, right? This is not worth it. I want to give up. Was there a situation like that, and how did you deal with it?
I think that there's always situations like that. I don't know. I don't find myself a lot of times feeling like I want to give up. I don't, I have a difficult, like it takes a lot for me to get in a really negative mind space. I often will find myself feeling more like this is not going at all like we planned. And so how do we pivot? And like, what do we change from here? So I very rarely want to like throw in the towel and like call it a day. Instead, I want to brainstorm like 20 ways we could have done that differently or should do it differently, even if we're in the middle of it. And so unfortunately for my team, that often means a lot of change, because we'll pivot and change direction if something's not going well. But I think that's what's made us successful as a company to date, is that because we're a little bit smaller, we're able to pivot when we see like, hey, this maybe wasn't what we planned. Let's maybe
Any
kind of right
any
the ship.
example you can cite of a pivot which you did, which was significant of a pivot, and team had to really do a lot to make that happen?
Sure. We had a printer type one time, that we had come up with this great idea for this card printer that we were going to work with a manufacturer partner on, and a very specific market we were going to go after. And we were in our heads like we're going to have all this success with it, and it just wasn't ramping up the way that we wanted it to. And so we were like, all right, that maybe just isn't the vertical that we need to be focused on. Let's go ahead and pivot and switch to maybe a different niche and go after this with a similar mindset, but and maybe a similar printer type of model, but not the exact same thing that we originally set out to do. And it hurt a little bit during the transition process, especially because we had been so confident that that was going to work. But we shifted our priorities, and we kind of, I'm not going to say abandoned, but we shifted the printer model that we were designing, and went after a different kind of market and demographic and had a lot more success there. So
Great, great. So regarding the industry, coming back to the access control industry, how do you see the future of the security industry or access control industry? What all new things are you guys excited about?
to me, I'm excited about like how quickly the industry seems to be kind of like shifting and pivoting and adopting new things and new companies. Like, I don't know, when I reflect on it, you used to think about the security industry and there was like the big players and the names that you always thought of as the security industry. And now there's like all these new names, and they're having a ton of success. And like, I think we've done a better job of embracing like newer technologies, new ideas, new people, and not being like, oh, these are the new guys, they don't belong in the industry. And so that's been really fun to see us do. And also like just embracing stuff faster. I feel like we would talk about things that they were coming for a long time, and then they might come, they might not come. We're just, because it was more, I think the industry used to be more hardware focused than software focused.
Yeah.
And the shift to software focus has really enabled us to pivot more quickly and come out with new stuff. It's harder to come out with new hardware as quickly as you can come out with a new software feature. So I think some of that is what's driving some of that speed.
Yeah, I mean, being software centric really helps now. I'm sure you guys are also looking at AI. I mean, what's your take on AI and how you guys are leveraging AI in your products?
Yeah, I think every department's probably leveraging it a little bit differently, as far as like day to day helping with normal tasks, and then like what it can help automate for you. I mean, from a data and reporting perspective, AI has really changed a lot in how we view and analyze stuff within our organization. I know the development team uses it differently than like the sales and marketing team, of course. And we're constantly looking at ways that it can help improve things like testing, and help our developers get things done more efficiently and quickly. So not like write code necessarily, but help automate testing and stuff that used to be a much more manual process, where we can maybe apply some AI resources to that to assist with moving things along more quickly.
Great. So most of my viewers on the show are in the startup community, either they're founders or they're aspiring leaders. My goal here is to inspire other people to dream big and do stuff which they're uncomfortable doing. So what would be your advice? For you it might have been just natural progression. You've been working, you've been taking responsibility, you just stepped into the CEO role just naturally because but not everybody would want to take a responsibility. What would be your advice to some of these early leaders who are aspiring but they're a little bit afraid of coming into a leadership role?
Okay, so two different questions, I think, and we can break them into different segments. So one is like, you want to start a business and like build something.
Yeah.
If you're nervous about it, I don't think that maybe it's the right time for you. Like anyone who I've ever seen like start a business, build something from scratch, like that's really ballsy, and like you're a really aggressive risk taker. And I have so much respect for this. And I mean, like, I know a lot of people. My husband owns his business, so like I've seen this, and a ton of people in that group I'm a part of, like, really incredible, starting something from nothing. I have so much respect for that. Obviously, that's not what I did. So I have grown into a leadership position, and I think that that's a different type of person too. And I think that if you're nervous about stepping into a leadership role, like some of that is just do some self-reflection. Like, what is it about it that's making you nervous? Do you think that you're not ready? I think there's always an element of like, am I ready for this? Some people call this like imposter syndrome, like I'm in a role and I feel like I don't belong there. There's certainly tips for overcoming that, but everybody struggles with this a little bit. Like there's some part of your brain that's like, should I be here at some point? And you just have to quiet it down. Like you just got to quiet it down and believe in yourself. Because if it's something that you want, like ultimately you've got to believe in yourself to make it happen.
Yeah. So what are the tips, tricks you use? Have you spoken in the mirror to see how you sound like? Because you have to communicate as a leader. You have to communicate a lot to your team, right? So
Sure.
how do you make sure you are an effective communicator, or you're able to convey the message to the
That's a great
players?
question. I'm sure there are people that are much more gifted communicators than others, but I do think you can learn some communication skills and practice it. I was lucky that I was always pretty comfortable
Mhm.
speaking to people, in front of people. Like that's a natural gift I was given, but I'm constantly reevaluating, like, how did I deliver that message? Was that right? Did that land the way I wanted it to? And when I have to deliver something super important, whether it's a message in front of, like, on a stage in front of an audience, or whether it's a one-on-one conversation with like a key team member that I want to make sure goes well, like I will play that conversation over in my mind far before it will happen in real life. Like I will prep for a big presentation I have to give multiple times. So there's this perception that people who get up on stage or present for a living or are good communicators, that it just comes naturally to them. And there's a certain element of it that does, but I also like prepare the heck out of what I'm going to say before I say it. So I'm not winging it when I get out there most of the time. And so there's a certain level of preparedness. And I think that when people are less confident in how they're going to deliver it, just over prepare. Like just make sure you're so prepared that how could it not go well? And then once you've prepared multiple times, then it starts to become second nature.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been there unprepared, and you go blank because you're not prepared, because you're not
Mm-hmm.
thought through, and you just go blank and you have to say something, and it's a tough situation to be in. So I definitely agree. It's preparation, preparation, and preparation, and practice is what you have to do.
For sure.
Great. Great. What would be one last uh, thought about where you see in the next 10 years, where, like, as a person, where you would want to be and how you want to be able to contribute to the society or to the world?
Yeah, wow, really deep question to wrap things up here. I mean, I think that for me, when I think about like myself as a person, there's several ways I want to contribute. I mean, first and foremost, it's my family. Like that's my number one priority, and making sure that I'm raising like good kids with a good work ethic and a great personality. And so like that's probably my number one priority. And then from a business perspective, like I really like to some of the greatest like satisfaction I get is out of seeing our team members grow and succeed. And like that's what excites me a lot is watching people kind of grow up in the company and grow in leadership roles and change and evolve as people. And it's fun to watch like how people, mature and grow in their role. And I like to really invest heavily in that. Like personally from a time perspective, that's one of the things that like I'm most excited about and want to continue to do for the next, 5 to 10 years. And not just in BadgePass, but in the industry too. I mean, I've had an opportunity to be a part of like SIA's mentor program, and like that's been really fulfilling. I've learned a lot from my mentee. And so like building relationships in the industry and, getting to see some of that stuff happen, that's some of the stuff that I'm excited about doing.
Great. It's good to see. Great to hear your what's your real passion is. It's just about giving back to the people who are around you and feeling, seeing happiness from seeing other people happy. That's a great way to look at it. And I wish you guys all the best in your future as a company, as an individual. It's always a pleasure to work with you guys. We're looking
Same with
forward
you.
to continuing to work with you and also working with you in the industry.
Well, thank
All
you.
right.
I've loved getting to know you guys. It's been a blast, and I look forward to continuing the partnership. You guys are great.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for sharing your time with me today. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.